Hey, Wid fam. This is Leo with One Happy Widow. We've already got some people here. Yay. Alicia, hello. Welcome. If you're just joining in, let us know where you're from and we welcome you here. Um, so I actually am doing like a live session in the same 2 weeks. Like instead of doing every other week, I did one last week and I'm doing one this week. So I feel like that's an improvement because I've been doing the every other week for a while. And I felt like I got an idea in my head today while I was sitting at church. And I was like, this is a good idea. This applies to the grief journey. I need to share it. I need to tell my people about it. And I didn't want to kind of lose that idea that I had growing in my head. And it applies to me from this past week too. So I just wanted to share. It might not be a longer one, but I always say that, and we always tend to go like in that hour time frame. But Jonice, hello, welcome. Jonice always catches the live streams. I don't know how she always catches it, but I'm so glad that she does. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about this topic before, but it was way back in the beginning of my channel, and I was kind of griping. It was like a live. I had the idea in my head. I was coming home from a workout. My daughter was griping to me about her situation, and it just really irked me. And so I just turned on the camera in my car and I just kind of ranted for a little bit. And so I mean it was relevant, but it was a long time ago. And so I feel like this is a topic that is continuing to go around. And also, as much as I would like to think that all of my viewers watch every single one of my videos, and so if I talk about something one time, I don't need to talk about it again because I've already covered it. But I know that's not realistic. And I have like, I think 60 videos now or something like that. So I can't expect everybody to watch every single video. Not only that, but if a message is good, it's worth repeating, right? I mean, sometimes you need to hear the same thing over and over again before it kind of sticks in your head and you actually start to believe or to be convinced or to put it to use or to realize that it applies. And so we're going to talk about it again. It's something that I needed to think about it again for myself. It's kind of like a revelation that I had that I'd already had in the past and then forgot. So I needed to remind myself again about it this week. Um, so and I always kind of start off with, if you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I started this new teaching job back in the beginning of August. So now it is the end of September. So we're coming up on like finishing up 2 months of this new job. And if you've watched, you also know that the job is stressing me out. It's wearing me out. It's stressing me out. It is adding to my grief journey, my grief burden, I guess you could say, because you know that grief is the spice that is sprinkled throughout every other part of our life. And so it just basically makes all of our struggles a little bit harder because it just adds that extra dynamic to it. But so the job, it's a teaching job. And I'm also working extended day, which means I don't get a planning period, which means I have to work long hours. I'm getting to school about 6:45 every day. I'm leaving in the 6 o'clock hour sometimes every day. So I'm working 11 to 12 hours a day. And I'm working on the weekends to try to prepare for the days coming up. So it's just wearing me out. And I haven't been able to do as many videos for the widowed page. I haven't been able to pop into the Facebook group as often as I would like to support the people who are in there. And it's just, I haven't been able to be present as a wife, present as a mother like I would like to. And I haven't been taking care of myself physically like I need to. I have not been working out. I haven't been really eating right. I'm trying to make better choices, but it's just hard. I'm a stress eater. So when I'm stressed out, I'm eating junk food a lot and on the run food a lot, fast food a lot. And that's affecting my health, which also affects my emotions. It's just a big cycle. Like if you are going through that kind of thing, you know what I mean. And so this week, like every week that's gone by, it has gotten like there's been more added to my plate. It's gotten more stressful. The workload has gotten harder, and it's just been more and more and more. And this past week, it kind of like all came to a head, I guess you could say. And I had probably the worst besides the first few days that I started my job where I was, like, manic and thinking I was gonna quit because I knew this was gonna be a terrible job and my schedule was awful, all that stuff. I finally had, tried to take it on and try to manage things and figure things out, and I kept telling myself, Once this happens, once I get my room clean, then it'll be okay. Once I get my on top of my copies, then it'll be okay. Once I get this printer in my room so I don't have to run down the hall, it'll be okay. Once I can teach my students how to behave, then it'll be okay. It's always looking for, like, once this happens, then it'll be better, and once that happens, then it'll be better, and it just is not getting any better, and it's been getting worse, and up until this week that just ended was probably the worst week, and I brought it all home with me, and it kind of blew up with my marriage, with my parenting, with my own mental health. So what happened is I am that person that I'm always trying to help others. I kind of don't focus on my own needs first, which I should, but I don't always do that because I feel like my role is to support others. So I'm supporting my kids, I'm trying to support my husband, I'm trying to support my students, my coworkers, my widowed friends, and basically what happened was my tank ran dry, like my gas tank. I ran out of gas, emotional, mental gas. So, I just kinda hit rock bottom emotionally, and, I withdrew a lot this week so that I didn't wanna talk about my days at work, and I had been coming home and just spewing all of my issues from my job to my husband, and I could tell he was just getting tired of hearing it, and I felt so bad because he didn't wanna hear my issues, but I had to, like, get it out in some way. And finally, I was like, "He doesn't wanna hear this." And I started telling stories, and then I'd pop in, like, a little side story and be like, "And then he ate a cheese sandwich, and then he got on a bus and fell backwards," or something just random. He wouldn't even bat an eye. So I could tell that he wasn't really listening. He was just trying to be a good husband and just kinda be like, "Mhm, yeah, mhm, yeah." And so I was feeling a little ignored. Not his fault, it was just what was happening. And so I was like, I'm not going to bring my problems home anymore. I'm just not going to talk about it. He doesn't want to hear about it. It's just stressing him out and just causing a lot of stress at home. And so I started to withdraw inward. And he was like, "What's wrong?" Nothing. I don't want to talk about it. How was your day? I don't want to talk about it. And so then he got stressed out and he was taking it personally. And so he was taking that as me treating him badly when really what it was is just I did not have anything left within me to be the wife that he needed me to be, to support him in his stress and his job. And usually I'm the person that does that. He's very good also at supporting me, but he's the person that's kind of like turns to the negative, and I'm always the one that's like, well, let's look on the bright side and try to cheer him up. That's usually kind of the roles that we play. And this past week, I was not doing that. And it was like, whoa, my wife, what is going on with her? And so he got upset. And when he got upset, then I was already stressed. And so then I was stressed out even more because I'm thinking that my stress and my anxiety and my emotions were causing him stress and like making things even worse. So I just got to that point where I couldn't handle anything. I got in my car and I just drove away. I didn't even take my phone. I just drove away. Drove around for a little while. I ended up in the church parking lot, just sat, cried, just laid down and closed my eyes and just thought about all these things. And my mind just kept thinking, you know, I just need to quit this job because this job is just what's causing all these problems. And then I remembered my therapist a few weeks ago said, quitting your job is on the table. Like it needs to be on the table. If it is like affecting the rest of your life so much that you can't handle things, then it has to be an option. That made me feel better for a little bit, and then my mind kept going to, I just need to quit this job because if I can quit this job, everything else will be great. But I knew that it wasn't because then I have money problems and then I have no health insurance. And also I lose my contract. I lose my certificate, my teaching certificate. It makes it really hard to get another job later on down the road when you've broken contract. And so I knew that by making this change in this job, like quitting, would have alleviated some things that were stressing me out, but it would not have made my life easier on down the road. It would have been an immediate fix that would have caused it would have just delayed the problems for later, and it would have added um, another set of problems. You know, like I said last week, you're not really making your problems go away. You're trading in this set of problems to take on another set of problems. And so I had to sit and decide, how would I deal with money problems if we can't pay our bills? Because I'm working right now, I'm pulling in all of my check and I'm still broke. So if I take that cut in pay, that's not going to make anything better on the money side, you know? And so I'm sitting here realizing that um, I had to get mature, you know, I had to put my big girl panties on. I had to realize that um, it's not, yeah, the job is causing stress, no doubt about that. But I'm not handling the stress very well. So I am the thing that needs to be fixed inside of here. Because if I change this job situation and I go and I'm not any better in here at dealing with whatever's going on, then now I got to deal with the money situation and the no health insurance, you know, situation and the other situations that come along with it. Am I any better equipped to handle those problems than I am to handle the problems that I have right now? So do I really need to change the thing that's causing the stress? Because guess what? Life causes stress. There's going to be stress no matter what. My kids cause me stress. You know, finances cause me stress. My husband and my people around me cause stress. Not always in a bad way, but just, I mean, life is stressful, right? I'm still going to be dealing with grief, still going to be dealing with anxiety, still going to be widowed. So, I'm realizing that me quitting my job is not going to fix my problems. It's just going to change them a little. But if I haven't changed myself and made me more able to deal with the stress, it's it's not going to get any better. It's just going to be a different type of stress, right? So, this kind of reminds me, I'll go ahead and tell you the story that I heard at church today, because that's what prompted me to think about all this stuff and like tie it all together. I always get good messages from our pastor at church. So, and this has nothing to do with the Bible or religion or whatever. It's just a funny story. So, he said there was a man on a deserted island. He's all by himself. And someone comes to rescue him. They come down to the island and they're talking to him. And they're like, "Oh, I see you have these huts out here." And he's like, "Yeah. Well, tell me about your huts." And he says, "What about this hut out here? What is this hut?" He said, "Oh, that's my house." "Oh, okay. That's cool. Okay. Well, then what's this hut over here?" He said, "Oh, that's my church." He's like, "Oh, okay." He said, "Well, what's that hut way over there?" He said, "Oh, that's the church I used to go to." So he's by himself. Okay. He's got his old church hut and then his new church hut. And so it was a funny story, but I started thinking, this guy he's his own church, right? So I guess at some point in his mind, his issues with his old church, he felt like if he could just go to a new church and change his surroundings and like change churches, that his problems would go away. And I thought it was, such a funny story, but it relates to a lot of the times our situation. We are stuck in the funk. Okay, especially when we're in fresh grief or when we're past fresh grief and we're kind of in that valley of grief that I've talked about so many times, where we're kind of down in the dumps and we're like, okay, I've dealt with the funeral. I've dealt with the legal issues. I've dealt with the money stuff, like all those things that have to be taken care of one time when our spouse passes away, did all that. Now I've got everything else in front of me and my life is right here. Now I got to figure out, how do I live from today to the rest? Like, what do I do now? And sometimes we get stuck in that rut and we are not sure how to put one foot in front of the other and live this new life that's in front of us. Also, I shared a story in one of those old videos about when my daughter she's 20 now. She's getting ready to get married. But when she was 15, 16, right after her dad died, we were living in this rental house. It was infested with rats. It had been infested with rats when we moved in, and we didn't know, but they were living in the walls and in the attic. We could not get rid of them. We, put out traps, whatever. We did everything we could do, and they just kept. We could not get rid of them. So we even call it the rat house, which is really gross. But anyway, so we were building our new house. And so it was like an 8-month process. And so we kept having to extend the closing date of the new house, and we would have to extend our rental for another month because we couldn't move into the new house until it was done. So we couldn't move out of the rental house until, we were ready to move. And I can remember my daughter at the time, 15, 16, saying, I can't take this any longer, Mom. We've got to move. We've got to move into this house. Like, if we can just get moved into the new house, then I can breathe easy and everything will get better. And I tried to explain to her, hey, kiddo, I know that some of the issues we're having is this house because it sucks. It's too small. We've got rats. Like, it's the dogs are everywhere. It's just like there's crap everywhere. There's stuff everywhere. We need a fresh start. We need a bigger house. We need a new everything. But in her mind, she kept thinking, if we can just get into the big new house, that she would be happy. But she's grieving the loss of her dad. And so that didn't have anything to do with where we were living. But in her mind, she had focused on that. And I kept trying to tell her, that's not going to solve your problems. And she's like, I know, but it's going to, I just can't take it here. So we finally got to where we moved to the new house, and we moved in, and we got all our stuff, and the high was there, and we were all, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. We built it from the ground up. It's got all this space. It was gorgeous. It was wonderful. It was just the best. After about 2 weeks, she came to me and she's like, I don't understand. I don't feel any better. I'm not any happier. I'm still sad. I'm still mad. I'm still struggling. She was suicidal at the time. And so she's like, I'm still having suicidal thoughts off and on. And she's just like, I don't understand. I thought if once we got to this house that, everything would be better. And it was an eye opener for her to understand that, well, kiddo, the house is not the problem. The house was not the source of your emotional distress. Losing your dad and your grief is the main cause, and everything else is stemming from that. And obviously, daddy's not coming back. So we have to figure out how to deal with our emotions and everything that goes along with it. And while a new house is going to help some stuff, that's not going to take away your grief, and she also would complain. Even later, she finally kind of realized, oh yeah, I see that now. But that almost made it worse, because then she was like, well, what can I look forward to then? And so she still would get into this way of thinking where if I can just graduate from high school, my life would be better. And then she graduated from high school and it wasn't any better. Well, if I could just start my college classes, then my life would be better. And she started her college classes and her life was not better. Well, if I could just move to this other apartment and this other apartment and this other apartment and get this new dog and this new cat and this other dog. And you see how she just kept going through this cycle of, if I could just change this about my life, everything would be better. And she made so many changes in like a 2-year period. And her life just kept getting worse and worse and worse, because she kept holding on to hope that if she could change those things outside of her life, that if only I could have this, then I would be happy. If only I could have this next thing, then I would be happy. And I don't know why she couldn't put 2 and 2 together and like figure it out. But when you're in an emotional state, your common sense doesn't always work, and things that are very obvious right in front of you, you don't always put 2 and 2 together and figure it out. And so it took, hello, Laurie. Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for joining in. She's my my naming sister, because my real name is Laurie. So it took her. And it took her a lot of maturity, and it took her a lot of medication changes, and it took a lot of therapy, and just, a mixture of a bunch of things, and time going by and working on herself. And eventually she got saved. And so that that helped her a lot. And so the combination of all those things, and she looks back now, she's not even on medication anymore because she's outgrown the need for it. But there was a time that she needed that medication just to be able to like function. But she looks back now and she's like, I used to always think if I could just have this next best thing, that would be the solution to my problems. And so it took her a long, long time. And sometimes we still get into that rut. I have my stress, my two big things that I take on, I guess, when I'm really stressed, two unhealthy habits that I do when I'm really stressed is I eat crappy food and I internet shop, like I Amazon shop. And so retail therapy. So those are the two things that I fall back on that don't help me one bit. Because when I shop online, I feel like if, I just need this container, or these things that would organize my life. If I can just organize my life, my basement, and my classroom, my life would be so much easier. And you know what? It's causing more work because I don't have to organize everything all the time. And, when I eat, I stress eat and I feel better for 2 seconds, because that food gives me like a little high. That food loves me so much. Food never does me wrong when I'm eating it. Like it does me wrong later when it's stored on my hips and my butt and I don't even want to step on the scale anymore and my joints start hurting and I'm not as flexible or strong as I was and I start having aches and pains and I'm getting older. You see how it all just like doesn't help. It's not helping me. It's a temporary solution. But the problem is so much bigger than that. And I can't always fix the source of the problem because when that source of the problem goes away, there's going to be another problem ready to take its place. That's life. That's what life is about. And so instead of focusing so much on, if I could just get this out of my life or put this in my life or change this in my life, then everything will be great. It's not going to work that way if we're still broken on the inside and not able to deal with those problems. Because if I can't deal with problem A, I'm not any more equipped to deal with problem B or C. And when I get rid of problem A, it's going to be replaced with problem B. And if I get rid of problem B, it's going to replace with problem C. So what I really need to do is figure out how to deal with the problems inside myself so that no matter what the problems are, I can deal with them and handle them. Now, does that also mean don't ever change anything and just learn how to deal with it and suck it up and whatever? No. Sometimes a change of environment does help because let's say my old job that I had right after Dewey died was triggering me almost every day. And that was causing so much emotional pain for me that I changed jobs so that I could stop the triggers. That did help. So I'm not saying that it's never time to change your environment because there sometimes is. However, sometimes it's not necessarily the environment, this environment, it's just a problem environment that I'm not dealing with. It's not the problem, it's just some problem. And so it doesn't matter what that problem is for me right now, because any problem that I have in front of me, I am not very well equipped to handle it right now because I'm so stressed out. I'm not eating right. I'm not taking care of myself. And I am overstretched with my responsibilities. I know this. So after much contemplation, because this week I really was ready to quit my job. I think I've complained too much at my job and my bosses are just getting tired of me complaining because they can't fix it or they're not willing to, or they're not listening anymore. Or they're just like, oh my God, this woman complains about everything. And, they've not, sometimes they don't even answer my emails or texts anymore because I think they think I'm a whiner and I don't want to be that way. And I've been looking to them to help change my situation and help support me. And I realize that's not going to happen in the way that I am expecting it to. And so, in addition, there's a deeper level of that. Like if I give up One Happy Widow because it's just too hard for me to get in here and do these videos, or it's too hard for me to run the Facebook group, or it's too hard for me to grow it as a business, then I'm letting down lots and lots of people who look forward to the live sessions and who watch the videos and who email me and say, I feel like I'm not alone because when I watch your videos, it makes me realize that, I'm not strange in my feelings, or you have a down to earth style and the way you talk about stuff and it's refreshing, or whatever that might be. I know that I've helped people because they tell me that I have. And that's not to toot my own horn. That's just to know that that's part of my calling, I think, in this grief journey, is to help others. It's part of my therapy. It makes me feel better. Also, there's kids out there. I think about my students who have bad behaviors, and they really, really struggle, because I have the behaviors that are the worst of the worst right now. Because I teach special ed, and a lot of my students, their issue is learning disabilities, and a lot of them, their other issue is behavior, emotional behavior disorders, or a combination of both. And I think about those kids and how, they're not really nasty to me directly. They're not really disrespectful to me, usually directly. It's mostly at each other. It's their interpersonal skills that are horrible due to COVID, due to their issues, specifically things like that. And I keep thinking, when they make me so upset and they frustrate me so much, because I'm thinking, why can't they just sit down and be quiet and let me teach this lesson? Because I'm a human person. And then I realize that behaviors come from somewhere. Like, behaviors come from emotions. Emotions come from trauma or situations or issues at home, or whatever those might be, or brain damage, or, there's so many different causes for their issues, but they have issues that they can't help. And they're having to learn how to handle their emotions. And they're children, they're 14, 15, 16, some of them 17. They're still learning how to deal with how they feel and behave appropriately because of that. And a lot of them might be 16, but their emotional level is maybe 8 or 10. And I think, they, as much as they aggravate me, I'm there to help them. That's my job, is to help them. And I'm trying my hardest. And when I think about quitting and just walking away and saying, to heck with this, like this job is too stressful. This school, this environment is so stressful. These kids are so stressful to me. And then I realized those kids, they're stressed out too, because a happy, well-adjusted kid doesn't have behavior problems. So if they're having behavior problems, it's because they're not happy. They're not content. They're stressed out. They're having anxiety. They're having grief. They're having trauma from home. They've had trauma in the past. They've had abuse or whatever. They're not content and happy. So it's coming out as bad behaviors for attention or for whatever reasons. And I think if it gets too stressed out for me, and I'm a grown up and I pretty much know what I'm supposed to do to handle it, I could just walk away. I'd have some consequences, but I could walk away. The kids can't walk away. They can't leave. They can't just quit. They're not old enough to quit school. Even if they were 16 or 17 and they technically could quit school with their parents' permission, they wouldn't be able to have a driver's license. So they can't have a job. So their life would be ruined, because they'd be a high school dropout at age 15. So would that make their life any better? No. And in addition to that, their parents are like, heck no, you're not quitting. You're going to school. You got to go to school. And so I think they don't have the option of just walking out and walking away. They got to be there. And if I leave, I'm leaving them in that chaotic, stressful room for some other person to come in and continue to deal with those same issues with them. And they may or may not be able to handle it as well as I. Maybe they'd be better than me. I don't know. But the kids would have to develop a relationship with that new person and develop trust with that new person, and, probably make things worse for a while. And so I think, God somehow, for some reason, placed me there to help those kids. Not obviously it's not for me. Okay. It's for them. So, but I'm teeter-tottering, because I'm like, yeah, I'm there for them, but like, at what cost to myself and to my family and to my kids and my marriage. And so, so I guess bottom line is, when I got to rock bottom this week, like serious rock bottom, like I'm contemplating, I don't want y'all to get, scared or try to call somebody or whatever, but when I'm contemplating what my options are, to go on, and scary options are coming into my head, like permanent solutions to temporary problems, fleeting thoughts, like, well, here's some of my options, and one of them comes up that's like, well, I could just, check out. And so, and then I'm, first of all, I have common sense. And second of all, I don't want to have that permanent solution. And third of all, I know that I'm here for a purpose, and I know that that's not really what the option needs to be. So I have to spend some time being my own counselor, talking myself off the ledge, for lack of a better term, because I don't want to burden my husband with those kind of thoughts and words. I definitely am not going to burden my kids with those things. I don't really want to call like a professional because I don't want it to make my life worse. I don't want somebody to come in and take me away and commit me. I don't want somebody to come and take my kids away from me and think that I'm, can't be trusted for my own safety, because that's not what was happening. But it was just like I have all these thoughts and all these things about what do I do? And when I start getting those thoughts start creeping in, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, hold on a minute. Let's get, let's get some clarity. All right, let's get some, like, let's make a mental list, pros and cons or whatever. And you've got kids that count on you. You have a husband that loves you. You have people that count on you. You have students that count on you. You have your salvation to think about. You've got, you have so many blessings in your life. And it's hard when you're in that situation and you're that low to remember that no matter how you feel at that moment is temporary. Even if you are at the lowest of the low, that feeling is not going to be permanent. Even if you're at the highest of the high, that feeling is also not permanent. Like, our life is ups and downs, right? But when you're in that really, really low place, it's hard to remember. For kids too, it's hard to remember that in a few hours or tomorrow or in a few days, you're not going to feel this bad. Like, this feeling that you're having right now, maybe you're about to have a panic attack or an anxiety attack, but you're not going to feel this way all the time. And so you got to ride through it. You got to ride it out, and you got to get to that next place where you can say, here's some viable options. What do you need to do? And so, a few hours later, I felt better, went back home, got back, and just my husband kind of he had a few hours to think, and to realize that my actions were not against him, that I was struggling, and that he needed to be there to support me, not to get mad at me for withdrawing and not speaking to him. And so we talked a little bit, we texted a little bit, and he, came at it with a different view and said, do what you need to do for yourself, like spend your time alone if you need to or whatever, but I'm here for you, and I will wait in the background if you need me to, and whatever you need, just let me know and I'm here. And so he, just knowing that he wasn't mad at me anymore for just being like having an anxiety moment, and that he was just there waiting for me to come back around and come out of that place so that he could support me in the way that he likes to support me, that helped. And like I said, knowing that my kids need me, and that there's just a lot of people out there that I would add lots of problems to their lives by trying to make drastic changes to mine. And so that was just not, like I said, it wasn't that I was ruminating over it or anything. It was just a fleeting thought that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really that stressed right now. Like, I need to stop and, just kind of take perspective, take inventory of my life and the situations that are around me. And so I felt a lot better, because I've decided now that even though technically quitting is still on the table, I mean, yeah, if it gets really bad and and they're really abusing me, but like I'm trying to do a new job training. I'm trying to enter a new job training to be a coach of other teachers. That's what I really want to do. Like, starting next year, I don't want to teach in the classroom. I want to be what's called an academic coach, where you work in the school, but you support the other teachers. You support the new teachers and the teachers who are struggling in the classroom, and you help them be better teachers. You help them not to be in the situation that I'm in, where they want to quit because the job is so hard. You support them. You're not their boss. You are a support person. You're a mentor. You're a coach. You're a peer support person for them. There's a couple of classes that you can take to be certified to do that. I need my principal to sign off on the paperwork so I can take that class. And as of right now, he's not wanting to sign the paperwork for whatever reason. He hasn't told me yet why. He's stalling, and he won't. The communication has been really, really spotty. And so my mind makes stuff up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not wanting to sign the paper. Does he think I'm a terrible teacher? Does he think I am a bad person? Is he trying to destroy my career? Like, I'm going to all these places. And so even my husband was like, you know what? I think maybe like the guy has known you for 2 months. I doubt he's trying to destroy your career after 2 months. Like he hasn't even come to your regular classroom, your resource class. He hasn't even observed you teaching, like really teaching yet. So I mean, how bad can it be at this point? And so I think I was just having some drastic thoughts, and so I was like, okay, step back, find out some other options of doing the same thing. He doesn't want to sign because he knows that he doesn't have a job for me in that position next year. And so if he signs his paperwork and I get certified, I'm leaving. I'm leaving anyway, but like at the end of this year. But I know in his mind, he thinks if I sign this paper for her to get this training, she's training herself right out of my school. And that's not a benefit to him. But that's also not really a reason for him to not support me. And I cannot sign up for the class without his signature. And so I even consulted an attorney. The attorney's like, no, we can't force him to sign something if he doesn't want to sign it. I'm like, well, doesn't he have to give me a reason? Nope, doesn't have to give you a reason either. Morally, should he? Yes. Legally, does he have to? Nope. So, that's frustrating when somebody's like holding the strings of your career choices and you're not really sure why. Really frustrating. I'm going to go check and see if there's any updates on our comments here. Sue has joined us and says, hi, everyone. Jonice says, Joyce Meyer says, oh, my mom loves Joyce Meyer. She watches her all the time. Joyce Meyer says, we cannot escape ourselves. We are with ourselves 24/7. That struck me hard the first time I heard that. That's true. If we're broken, no matter how much we fix in front of us, it's still going to feel like it doesn't work because we're broken. So this is exactly what we've been talking about. Jonice says, I just ordered an oil container that I do not need. Okay. Retail therapy, right? I bought so many, I have more containers at school than stuff to put in the containers. Like it's something about drawers and containers that I feel like will make me feel organized, which will give me control over my life. And it's misplaced somehow, but I don't know how to fix that. I think I need to bring that up in my next therapy session. Alicia says, when we hurt, we want band-aids. When we have fear, we want to flee. Yes, fight or flight, for sure. Tim says, hi. Alicia says, in my last job, I learned that complaining to my superiors made them want to avoid talking with me. So I decided to come up with solutions that could work. I think that's where I am now. They're like, oh my gosh, this woman, like she complains about everything, which we all complain, but like, I think they're just tired of me coming to them. And I've also realized that they're either not wanting to, or not able to, or not willing to give me the support that I need, or any of us need. The system is broken. The way they have things set up, I think is not real great. And it's not just affecting me though. It's affecting like every teacher in the school. And so I'm not the only one in this, in this boat, and I'm the squeaky wheel, and they are starting to like ignore me and they are avoiding me. They don't want to talk to me anymore. So I got to find a different way I got to fix my own problem. They want me to close my door, deal with my kids, and not tell anybody. Like, as long as they're not killing each other, please just handle these children, because nobody else wants to handle them, because they're the problems of the problems. And if we can get somebody who can deal with them and not, and not complain about it, that's really all they want. And that's sad. It's not right, but that's how it is, because these are the kids that have the most struggles. So present them to the superiors, and they were much more. Okay. So, this was a double thing. She said she decided to come up with solutions that could work and present them to the superiors, and they were much more receptive to helping. That's the idea. Alicia, you're just full of great ideas. You're the one that came up with the idea last time about recognizing Momo at the beginning of the wedding to keep her to basically deflate her, her power. Right. So yeah, I like your ideas, and I don't know where your background is from, but you got some good ones. Jonice says you would be great in that position. So that's where I feel like that's where my gifts and talents are at this point. Like, I can handle kids, but my heart's not in it as much anymore. And, I have a lot of experience. So I want to help people who want to be helped. It's really, really hard to help people who don't want to be helped. And those students do not want you to help them. They don't want you to do anything but let them play on their phones all day long. And so that's a fight and a battle, and it's wearing me out. um, so Alicia says, apparently they need an academic support person where you work. Yes, Alicia, they have 4 academic coaches where we work, but each academic coach is assigned to a subject. And so they have one for English, one for math, one for science, one for social studies. And so they have those people. They don't have one for special ed because we have all the different subjects. So technically we're supposed to be under those coaches, but those coaches aren't helping us. We really need like a special ed academic coach, but we don't have one. That's not a real job. So that's the job I was trying to ask her to do halfway for me for next year. And they basically said, yeah, it sounds great and wonderful, but not going to work. There's no money for it. There's no allotment for it because that job doesn't exist and they're not going to make one. And so I would have to take the job of the math or the social studies one that's already there. And neither one of them's going anywhere because they love their job. And so I would have to be in one of those academic fields that I'm certified for. So I'm certified in social studies. I'm certified in math. I'm certified in in special ed, but they don't have special ed coaches. So the only way I can work that job is if I go to another school and be one of their coaches for math or social studies. And they have four positions in our county right now that are left unfilled this year for coaches. Can't get anybody to fill the positions. I would love to just move into one of those positions, but guess what? My principal would have to release me from my school and then replace me. He ain't doing that because there's nobody available right now that's certified in what I'm certified in and can do this job. So I'm stuck. Let's see. Laurie says, you are such an inspiration. I am always blown away by your honesty. I have felt many of those same feelings. Thank you, Laurie. That really does mean a lot because really I'm just trying to be myself and just share what I go through. And it's kind of nice just to have a captive audience and to know that there's people because I know the people I'm talking to are probably going through a lot of what I've been through. So you can relate to what I'm saying. A lot of times when you talk about your issues to somebody who has not walked in your shoes, you're thinking in your mind, first of all, they have no idea what I'm talking about because they've never been through this. Second of all, do they even care? Because they don't know what I'm feeling. And third of all, how could they possibly help me? Because they could give me some advice, but even if they have not walked in my shoes, so even if they give me good advice, which they probably won't because they don't know how, even if they did, I would not be very likely to take their advice because I'm thinking, well, what do you know? You haven't lost a spouse. You don't know what you're talking about. So it's difficult, it really takes like a person who's been through what you're going through to be able to connect in that same way. So I think that's where we all kind of connect together when we're doing these discussions. Alicia says, yeah, I'm full of it. You are full of good ideas. You are. So I would like for you to email me sometime maybe and just tell me like, what is your background or what do you do? Or you don't have to put it up here if you don't want to share, but like, just email me and tell, and you might've said it before on the group, but there's so many people. I can't remember the details of everybody, but I'm just curious, like, where do all your good ideas come from? And Joni says we can all relate. Yes. That would be probably why you're here. So, I think that's basically all I wanted to really talk about is that we've got to, when we get in this grief rut, I'm just wrapping everything up. When we get in this grief rut and we start thinking about if only these things could go away or change or get better, then, my life would be easier or I would be happier or whatever. That is true sometimes. It's not a universal. But also just remember, when you start thinking that and you start thinking that a lot, and then when you start realizing that when things change in front of you, you're not feeling any better, that's when it's time to look inside and say, what do I need to do to handle these things better? Because remember, we talked about before, time does not heal wounds. Wounds heal from hard work and what we do. It just takes time for it to happen, but it's not time that's actually healing it, right? You could sit and still and not do anything for yourself. And a lot of time would go by and you would not get any better. So it's the work that you do in that amount of time that helps to make you better. if you are in this kind of a situation and you're like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I don't have any idea how to go about doing that. How would I do that? Then you are probably a good candidate for the Grief Pivot course. And I put it in it's up at the top of the chat. And I will put it back here again also. www.griefpivotcourse.com. Oh, I did not spell it right. Course.com. That in the chat, and I'll put it's in the description below also, will take you to the page for the Grief Pivot course. There's a 1-week course, or not a 1-week course, a 7-lesson course that's like a mini course. And it's just the first 7 lessons, or there's all 28 lessons for the full course. And, on the one hand, you might think, well, you're over here telling me how you don't have your life together and you are falling apart. So how are you going to tell me that you made this course that's going to even help me? But it's because the grief process, the grief journey it's a work in progress always. We're never going to be fixed. We're just going to have to work at this constantly. And so it's another situation where I know what I'm supposed to do, but I don't always do it because I'm human and I'm stressed and I'm grieving. But I can sure tell you what you need to do, and I can got ideas and tell you how you can go about it. And I've got a lot of good theories, and I have a lot of good ideas, and I have a lot of good principles, and the lessons. When you hear things that you need to hear, it motivates you. What, if you want to lose weight, do you know how? Yes. Like, how to lose weight in your mind, right? You know what you're supposed to do. Eat better, move more. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? But do you always do it? No. And so it's sometimes you need to hear somebody talk about it more and remind you and motivate you and give you ideas and make you feel like, yes, I'm going to do it. I can do this. I can do this, right? Sometimes I need to listen to my own self, my own grief lessons, my own videos, and remind myself, oh, yeah, you know what? When I eat better, I feel better physically. And when I feel better physically, I feel better emotionally, and I'm more able to handle my stress. And so, yeah, I haven't fixed all my problems. Like I'm struggling, right? I'm grieving, I'm stressed, I'm going through it just like y'all. But I do know what I'm supposed to do. And I do have to like restart sometimes, like refresh, restart. Why everybody says when the new year comes around, New Year's resolutions. Rarely do they stick, but you know what? That's no reason not to try. And, weight loss is another thing. How many times have you started a diet? And I've started a diet so many times. And I know you're not supposed to call it a diet, but let's just, get simple here. And I'm either on the wagon or I'm off the wagon. I am never in between. I'm either losing or gaining. I have really hard time maintaining. Right now I'm gaining, and so I'm ready to start myself again. And I've already decided next, when I get all this stuff ready and I get all my groceries done and I get my plans done and I'm really focused on that, like I have to have that to be a main focus of my daily routine. Right now it's not, because my life is chaos. It's not a good excuse. It's just how it is. But when I finally get to that point, I'm really close. I'm going to start documenting. I'm going to put everything that I have down on paper because I know the program. I know the food combinations. I know how to eat in a healthy way and lose weight. And I used to teach it. I used to work for a company that taught this way of eating, and it works awesome. So I have all the knowledge. I just need to put it to, I need to put it to use. And when I do, I'm going to document it all. I'm going to have it all written up, and I'm going to create my course while I'm going through the weight loss, that I'm about to do. And from the beginning to the end, you will see I will be going along doing all the struggling right along with you. And when I get it all done and packaged up, then I will have my weight loss course, and I'll be able to offer it to anyone who wants to take it. But I've done it lots of times. I've lost lots of weight and been like, yes. And then, something gets in the way, something happens, stress happens, life changes, happy, sad, whatever, get off track, lose focus, gain some weight, gain more weight, then feel like, what's the use now? I've already gained it all back. You know how that process goes. Does that mean I'm not qualified to teach you how to lose weight? Oh, I know exactly what you're supposed to do. But it's hard to take, uh, to take my lessons and to take my advice about it when I'm, not making the right choices for myself. I have to be a good example. And so I try to do that for you too, especially on this grief journey. Like I know what I'm supposed to do. I know I'm supposed to get myself in better routines. I know I'm supposed to think about the good things and get myself in a routine of every day doing certain things. I know all the secrets, but carrying them out is not that easy. I have found that I really do well when I'm watching a lot of stuff on somebody, like a lot of motivational speakers, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of TED Talks. Like when I'm trying to do something to change my life, make it better, I really do a lot better when I've got somebody who's talking about it all the time and like telling me all the motivator. Motivational speaker is exactly what it is. So I focus on that topic and I watch videos as much as I can find, and I will find one or two people that really resonate with me. I really like watching. Lately, I've been watching a lot of videos about teachers and how they organize their classroom and how they behave and how they manage their behaviors in their classroom. And so I'm kind of focused on that right now, and I'm getting better at it. But at the same time, I'm not focusing on my food choices. And so it's really hard to figure out it's a juggling act. What are you focusing on right now? And so and because of my ADHD, I tend to hyper focus on things. And so right now I'm like hyper focused on my teaching and my methods and things like that. Pretty soon I'm going to start hyper focusing on my diet and my exercise and my workout. I'm going to join the gym next week, and that's going to be like a big focus. So probably what's going to happen is my teaching stuff and my organization is going to fall to the wayside. My classroom is going to get a little bit more hectic for a while because I'm going to be focusing on my meal prep and my working out and my stuff. So it's hard to make everything your focus at the same time. And remember that grief is sprinkled throughout everything. And so no matter what you're focusing on in your life, grief is always going to be a part of it. It's always going to be attached like an addendum. It's always going to make everything that you do a little harder because you got that extra side item of grief that goes along with everything that you try to do. And so that, unfortunately, is not going to go away. It just means we have to work on ourselves harder and get support from others. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And I know I say that and I'm really bad at it. I'm terrible at asking for help, horrible at it. And so, and I tell other people, don't be guilty. I reach out, but I can't do it very well. I'm type A. I don't know why. Maybe because of trauma from my childhood. I don't know. I don't know why. But I have really struggled asking for help. But I know that I should, and I know that you should, but I know it's a struggle if you're anything like me. All right. Laurie says, I just watched lesson 28 this morning. Yay. The course helped me change my mindset and try to figure out who I am as just me. I also went back and watched 17 again. I cried through all the quotes. Oh, 27, not 17. So awesome. I'm so glad that you gave me that feedback because I've put like so much work into this. It's been like almost a year, I think, since I've created it, and I think it's really good, but that's me talking because I created it, but just to get feedback to know that, that what I was intending to do with it is what is happening with the people who are taking it. And so Laurie, thank you so much for giving me that feedback and letting me know that it's doing what it's, what I set out to do. And it's not something that you can just do it one time and then be fixed. You got to go back and do it again, or you got to just go back and remind yourself sometimes. And, again, it's like the diet. I'm off the diet right now. I'm fixing to get back on it. And I'll probably get off of it again, but I can't give up. I can't just say, well, I can never stay on a diet, so I'm never going to start one. Because if that happens, I would be 600 pounds. So I just have to keep trying. I fall off the wagon and I just have to get back on it. We fall off the grief wagon sometimes when we get really stressed and our life starts to fall apart and we get sad and we cry and we feel sorry for ourselves and we just get in those rut times. And then we have to try to pick ourselves back up and get out of it again, knowing that we might not be able to stay up and fixed and better and happy and all that, but we got to at least try. And we'll probably fall down again in the future at some point. And then we got to go back and give ourselves a pep talk and watch some more motivational videos and go to the Facebook group and share our struggles and hear from other people. And, it's just a constant, like it's a work in progress for the rest of our lives. And we know it. And knowing that we're never going to really conquer it 100% is not a reason to stop trying. We got to just keep on, we get knocked down. We just got to keep on getting back up. Because if we don't get back up, then we've lost the battle. And we can't let each other do that. We have to make sure that all of us in the WID fam are helping each other when we're down and helping us get back up. You guys have been really, really encouraging to me. You've seen me in videos sometimes and you'll say, "You look really tired. You look really stressed in your video today." And I'm like, "Damn, like, is it that obvious?" But then I know that it is. And then other times they'll say, "Wow, you look like you feel a lot better." And just to hear encouragement and feedback from the viewers, feel free to put it down there in the comment section. If you're not here live, just put it in the comment section. And, I get some trolls too, and some people who are very judgmental and want to say things. And it used to bother me. And now I just feel like, maybe they just want attention or whatever. And they're probably dealing with their own issues. And I just thank them for watching, because any kind of comment, it helps with the viewership and it helps YouTube push it out to more people. So I just try not to take those personally, because I got enough problems in my life than to deal with some stranger who doesn't even know me. So, okay. So that's going to do it this week. Again, we're almost up to an hour, which I said was going to be a quick one, and it never is, because I don't know how to stop talking. And, but I hope that this topic today kind of helped you. If you're ever feeling, you might not be feeling that way right now, but at some point you might, or you might be running across this video when you're feeling like I'm feeling and you're just down and you're like, if everything would change, it'd be better. We got to change us. Give yourself a pep talk. You know what you're supposed to do, but knowing what you're supposed to do and doing it, I know is two different things. So, talk to yourself, go to the Facebook group, reach out for some support, and hopefully something will resonate with you and, get you motivated to say, okay, let me put some things in place and just, pick one thing and change it. Pick one thing inside yourself. Pick one way of thinking. Pick one routine to get up and start doing, and just change one thing at a time, and then stack those changes on top of each other. And over time, you will see that things get better. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining, and I appreciate all of you. I will see you hopefully next week, but, I will try never to let it go more than 2 weeks without a live, and hopefully every week. And we'll see how it goes. I'll keep everybody updated, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.